Okay, good evening, everyone. So it's nice to see so many here, and so many on Zoom. I will try to be as practical as possible. So very little references, halachic references. It would be only how to actually do things. That is our aim tonight. And the shiur will have 4 parts. The first and the most long part will be cleaning and koshering the home for Pesach. The second part and the third part will be quite short, shopping for Pesach and b'dikat and bi'ur chametz. And then a fourth part, which I didn't have last year, but I hope to cover this year, not to cover, but to see some aspects of it. Those are halachot pertaining to the night of the Seder itself, because there too, it is very important to know some things and to do them right. So we'll start with the main part of the shiur, and that is cleaning for Pesach. So throughout the shiur, I'm going to give some leniencies and some possible stringencies. I will say where it will make sense to be stringent because sometimes it doesn't, and where there are possible leniencies, but it's better to not go according to them, although they are possible. And what I will stress is somewhat of a middle ground, and that middle ground I think has a very important role, especially in the communal aspect, because some of us might feel personally comfortable to be more lenient, but I think it's good that there is some sort of communal, and I'm not talking about Ohelari particularly, but I'm talking about generally. It's good that people know that generally all from people, let's say, do things in a certain way, and that way people know and feel comfortable to go to each other, to eat by each other. If some people, if we don't know, then we might not feel comfortable to eat with each other, etc. This way, if there's some sort of communal standard, it makes things easier. And also that standard is usually the most halachic robust standard to keep under our circumstances. So that is going to be the policy throughout the shiur. So first I want to explain regarding chametz on Pesach, there are 2 prohibitions. There is a prohibition to have any chametz, and there is another separate prohibition to eat chametz. So if I eat chametz, it doesn't matter whether it belongs to me, whether it's mine, whether how exactly I have it. I'm not allowed to eat chametz. But separately, I'm also not allowed to have chametz. But these are different prohibitions also in regard to what exactly they pertain to. So not having chametz pertains to chametz that I want to have. Let's say if there are some crumbs under my bed, I do not transgress the prohibition of having chametz because you don't have crumbs. They happen to be there. I don't want them. I have nothing to do with them. And therefore, I do not transgress the prohibition by having those crumbs. However, if by any chance those crumbs find their way into my mouth and I digest them, then I am transgressing the prohibition of not eating chametz. Meaning not eating chametz is any size of chametz. Obviously, it needs to be detectable. If it's not detectable, it doesn't exist. But if some chametz found its way into my food and I'm eating it, the amount does not matter. And therefore, when it comes to our home, we don't have to go crazy when we clean it, because all we have to make sure is that there is not chametz that we would want to have lying around in our home. If there are crumbs, it doesn't really matter. So all the parts of the home where we don't eat in, we don't really have to go crazy cleaning. Just make sure that there aren't big pieces of chametz. If someone wants to do spring cleaning, that's fine, but don't blame Pesach for it. When it gets to the kitchen and dining area, it's different, because there we are not only concerned about the chametz lying around, there we are concerned with chametz finding its way into our food. So if there is chametz where we store our food, we take then that chametz will mix with the other food that is there and eventually find its way somehow into our food. That's why we are very careful when it comes to cleaning the kitchen and the dining area. And that is what I'm going to discuss mainly the first part of the shiur. How do we clean our kitchen, dining area, and prepare it for Pesach? So I will start very shortly with the principles of koshering before we even start cleaning, because koshering means that there are certain utensils or certain objects that become associated with something that therefore they need to be changed to something else. For instance, it could be my counter in my kitchen. It could be a pot or a plate. If I used something for something hot, then when something comes into contact with hot food, then the hot food tends to, over time, stick to that thing, and it becomes more difficult to separate it. If it is cold, it's not the end of the world, because usually it won't stick. If it is cold, it won't stick as much, and it's easy to clean. And therefore, if something, let's say, if something tray fell onto my counter at home, if it's cold, it's not a problem. You just wipe it off and everything's okay. But if it's hot, then that is already more of a problem. And the rule is you have to then kosher it. How do you kosher it? Well, it depends what exactly happened, what is the material of that came into contact with that non-kosher thing, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes to koshering, there are two principles. Now, like any rules, the rules don't always fit the situation. Meaning, it could be that a drop of hot soup fell onto my counter and I'm able to wipe it out and I see and I actually took everything out. It doesn't matter. But the nature of rules are that once we have rules, we want them to have a one-size-fit-all type of things. Because if Chazal would say, check whether it is or it isn't, well, sometimes it is, sometimes it doesn't, and people will make their own rules, and there it becomes difficult. So there is a sweeping rule that hot came into contact, it has to be kosher. Doesn't matter, you managed to clean it, you didn't manage to clean it. The rule is, and this is a very important thing to understand about halakha. Halakha is there is the reality, but the rules are important to keep even when they don't match the reality. Meaning we keep the rules because they are rules, because keeping halakha, it's like following the law, right? If I'm a law-abiding citizen, I'm driving my car 2 o'clock in the morning and the light is red, then I won't say, no one's coming, I'll just go through. I say, no, I am a law-abiding citizen. The law says that you stop by a red light. I stop by a red light. So too with halakha. Our commitment is to halakha as a set of rules. And therefore, also the koshering system works the same. So now we have, let's say, a pot that came into, I boiled milk in a meat pot. What do I do now? So now comes another principle, and that is also important to know, and that is that technically, if not for another rule that I will soon explain, then all you have to do is wait for 24 hours, and then you could use the pot again. Why? After 24 hours, what happened? Whatever residue is stuck to the pot, wherever, it's already spoiled. That's our assumption. Our assumption is that things after 24 hours outside the refrigerator, they're spoiled, and therefore it doesn't really matter. I don't treat it as food anymore. And therefore, the 24-hour rule comes into place many, many times. However, the rabbis decided that in general, we don't let the 24-hour rule to just come into effect just like that. Why? Because what will then happen? We won't have milk and meat dishes at home because we'll say, we'll just wait 24 hours between them. But you could just think what balagan will happen, right? Someone just, our daughter just came back from school, took out a plate, put it in the microwave with something milk hot and then put it back. And then I come in, I don't know, just use it for that. I use it for me. Oh, you did 24 hours go, 24 hours not go. So to rely on the 24-hour rule is very difficult and it causes trouble. So Chazal decided, let's not just rely on that. Well, under certain circumstances, that's true, right? And therefore, Chazal decided, what do we do? If something became treif, it has to be kosher. How is it kosher? It has to be clean, meaning the residue has to be taken away. Now, there are two principles of how things are clean. Either by hagala, that means through cleaning, thorough cleaning, and that means through hot boiling water, and I'll soon explain, or by burning the residue away, and that is libun. Okay, now what I'm saying now is under dispute. Not everyone says it, but this is the general way of seeing things. And since we don't have all the night and the next day, so I'm just giving you a big an overview. Thank you. So what we call hagala, that is properly cleaning, and what we call libun is actually burning it. And I'll explain now how it works. So I have a pot that I boiled. It was, let's say it was a milky pot. I boiled meat in it by mistake. I now have to take the pot and basically, and again, because these are rules, so I can't say, oh, I know exactly where the meat touched it. I'll just clean that area. No, we just assume now the whole pot is quote unquote contaminated, and now the whole pot needs to be cleaned. How is it clean? So I properly clean it, then I immerse it in cold water, in hot boiling water, and when I take it out, I should rinse it. I rinse it after taking it out from the hot water. We rinse it to make sure that whatever residue the hot water lost its grip on the utensil is washed away by the cold water afterwards, and then we may use it. That is the principle, the general principle of hagala. But sometimes hagala is not enough. For instance, pots that we use in the stove with food that is not totally liquid, that is somewhat drier, things stick even more. Meaning when we boil things with liquid, then they stick less. But when we don't use, let's say a pot roast or something of that type, then things really have a grip on the utensils, and we are not always able to clean them, that there is no residue on the utensils at all. And then what is required is libun. So anything not used with liquid, that anything that came into contact with the pot that is not without liquid, but dry, meaning dry doesn't mean absolutely dry. It could have some moist to it, but not. It means it's not by means of boiling. Then the residue sticks very, very much, and therefore, what we do, we have to burn it out. And once it turns into charcoal, it's no longer food, and now we could use it. That is called libun. How do you do libun? You have to really burn it. Not many utensils we could actually put into the fire and burn. So only today, in today's kitchen, most of our utensils are quite sensitive. Most of them will not tolerate libun, and therefore libun is almost, not totally, but almost out of the picture. And therefore things that require libun, we cannot kosher today in most cases. But we'll get to it as we go through. So now you know the principles, more or less. Now we'll go with them to the kitchen and see how it plays. Before that, there are certain utensils that cannot be koshered, even with libun, because they absorb so much. That is clay. Clay absorbs so much, it doesn't matter what you'll do to it. There is inside still food that once you boil it and clean it and put it through anything, it doesn't help. And therefore, clay in general, you cannot kosher. Okay, what do we do in the kitchen? So we come to the kitchen, we're coming to kosher it. First thing, the surfaces. If it is made from natural stone or some sort of metal, then that's not a problem. We could kosher it. How do we kosher it? After cleaning it well, we pour boiling water straight from the kettle onto all the surface, and immediately afterwards wash it over, and that's koshering. That's fine. Anything which is not natural stone or metal, here there is a machloket between the poskim today whether we treat it as something that could be kosher, or maybe it's close somehow, somewhat it is like clay, and therefore they say we do not kosher it, but cover it. Lemase, most of the things like what is called granite, but it's not really granite. It's actually some sort of metal and sand mixed together, some sort of solution. Then that, some say you could kosher it, some say you cannot. It's more likely you could kosher it. So if someone wants to rely on koshering it, it's fine. But there is room to be stringent and cover it. So if you want to be stringent, and that is what I think most people in Israel do, they cover things that are not natural. Some cover even natural stone, and the reason is because they say there is some, although usually cleaning it will be fine, because food doesn't really stick to the counter that much that it won't be cleaned at all. However, they say there are nooks and crannies that you can't really get into, and maybe there are crumbs there. Who knows what's going on there? And also, sometimes it could be things are stuck so hard to the counter because not everything was stuck with water. It's not always wet. Maybe there was a piece of pasta at the bottom of a hot pot that was put onto the counter, and it sat there for a while. And so just in case, they cover even that. That is being very stringent. There is room for that stringency, but it's not necessary. Okay, so those are the counters. The sinks. The sinks, if it is, what is the material that the metal sinks are from? Stainless steel, thank you. Stainless steel sink, thank you. It's not a problem, it's kosherable, easy. You take a pot, a boiling kettle, and pour all over the parts, and that's it. I explained a more complicated method last year, but Emma then gave me some. Oh, you don't remember? Ah, okay. No. You weren't here. It was on Zoom. No, not ACEs. But you thought it wasn't so safe. I think it's safe, but it's a balagan. So we'll just leave it. And what I said now is good enough. Now, many of us have a. Sorry. No, not. What is? No, the strainer. It doesn't really matter because the water goes through it. So it's. But the metal that is there, you should put in boiling water as well. You should pour in kosher as well. But many of us have sinks which are ceramic, sort of a ceramic type of sink. That, at least according to Ashkenazim, cannot be koshered. So what do we do then? So the one thing to do is to just make sure that when we have dishes in the sink, to not use hot water when the dishes are actually touching the sink. That is something which is difficult to achieve, and therefore there are some like plastic boxes or basins you could get and put in the sink, and I recommend doing that. If you don't do it, then do kosher even those sinks, because at least then you go because then you're okay according to the opinions that you could kosher these sinks. The stove. So a gas stove, clean well, put on the burners when there are pots on the burners. The reason is because then the fire basically burns the chatzuvot. How do you say the chatzuvot? The metal, the racks. Is it the racks? The grate. The grates. Yes, I think that's right. No, not the oven, on the stove. Yes, the stove top, the grate. So when you put the pot on the grate, it basically because when the pot is not on it, then the fire is only in the middle. When the pot is on it, it distributes the fire to all where it usually is when the pot is there, and by that it does libun to it. By the way, that's why when we do meat immediately after milk, also during the year on the same stove, how do we do it? If it was used for milk and there's spillage, then it spills on the grate, and how could we use it? So the grate we see as constantly being meluban, because the fire is constantly burning whatever spills on it, and therefore it's fine. So also here, that's what we do. We leave it for 10, 15 minutes or so, and that koshers it. Some will cover the grates even after koshering it. The reason is there is a reason to it. Maybe I'll explain shortly. The reason is because the fire koshers the area beneath the pot, but maybe the spillage was outside that area, and the fire didn't really reach properly that area. So that area of the grate is not really koshered, and then maybe something falls there, and then you move the pot onto there, and then maybe something, and that might be a problem. So therefore they cover it. It's a stringency. You don't have to do it, but just know that some do. A chametz pot, very good question. Chametz pot that was not used for the past 24 hours. Because if it was used, then it has chametz in it, so you're not koshering it. If it wasn't used for the past 24 hours, then that's, because a Pesach pot that you'll put on it before it was kosher, then you have to kosher the pot. So you use a chametz pot that you didn't use for the past 24 hours. Good question, and thank you. Whoever it was. Okay. What doesn't need to be covered, and some people cover it, but it doesn't need to be covered, that is the stove itself, meaning beneath the grid, because nothing really touches it. The pots don't touch that part, and whatever falls there anyhow is you don't pick up or use, so you don't really need to cover it. You could if you want to, but you don't need to. Okay. Ceramic electric stove. If it is, okay, so there are the old ones which are sort of metal, and that you basically clean, turn on, and until they glow, and that koshers them.
One other idea of stove is what I've done with my gas stove is just put those metal pieces, put it in the oven, and if you have stuff in the oven, throw it in there and off you went.
Right, you could. The problem is some of the grates are covered by enamel that is ruined when you put them in the stove. Yeah. So yes, right. I'll soon mention it regarding other things. So good. So those on Zoom will hear it too. We'll hear it soon when I mention it. Okay. Okay. The electric ceramic stove that basically some sort of looks like glass. So there's some who say, okay, so how do you kosher that? You basically, similarly, you put big pots on it, put it on the highest, and basically let it on for a while until it reaches its highest heat. Some say put water in the pots until the very top and let them overboil, and then by that koshering also the area of around the where the pots are. Maybe it works. You don't have to do it, but it could be a good stringency if you want to. Some do not kosher electric ceramic ovens because they say it's Ashkenazim hold that. Yes. Oh, did I say yes? So because they say it's like basically there is a machloket regarding glass. Ashkenazim hold it is like clay. Sephardim hold it is not like clay. So therefore, Ashkenazim that hold it's like clay, they say it cannot really be kosher. I think I don't understand that because the Gemara says what that clay actually could be koshered. I said before it cannot be. It could be koshered. How? If it is put into the furnace. Meaning ordinary libun, if it's put into a fire, it doesn't kosher it. But if it's put into a furnace, then the furnace makes it so hot that it will kosher it. And when you turn on the ceramic oven, then it's the ceramic itself, meaning the heat of the thing itself, that is the source of heat. It's not that you put it into a fire, that is the fire. And therefore it's such a degree of heat that probably does kosher it. Sorry? Yeah, the induction. How do we kosher induction? The same. We put on pots, turn it on until it reaches its highest temperature, and that's the way we kosher it. Some, because the same as those who won't use the electric ovens, the induction stoves. Thank you. The induction stoves, they will cover with a silicone sheet. There are silicone sheets you could buy and cover the induction with, and use it on Pesach covered like that. Okay, oven. If you have a self-cleaning oven, that's great because the heat of libun is more or less, this is what Poskei Halacha have reached today, 370 degrees Celsius, which is about 700 degrees Fahrenheit. So if your oven is self-cleaning, it reaches more than 700% degrees Fahrenheit, more than 370 Celsius, no problem. Koshers the oven, that's great. If your oven is not a self-cleaning oven, it most likely does not reach this heat. And some say, therefore, that is not libun, because again, you remember, libun is burning the food, the residue out. And they say that heat is not enough to burn it out, and therefore you cannot really kosher the oven. So some say that an oven which is not a self-cleaning oven, you cannot kosher. However, some say that. Most people I know do kosher their oven on Pesach, and they rely on opinions that say that also libun could be done, meaning since the residue did not stick to the oven in a heat higher than what the oven gets to, then you could, if the oven gets to a lower heat, it's fine. It is sort of a hagala libun. It's not a real libun, but it's a hagala libun, meaning it does help you to clean it out. In that case, use a lot, well, that is what we usually do. We use a lot of cleaning, very strong cleaning detergents when we clean the oven. So whatever is still there, it cannot be considered food because even though it wasn't burned, it has all of these materials are in it now, and it's not edible anymore, and therefore that's good. So we clean it very well and turn it on to its highest for, let's say, 40, 45 minutes until the oven gets really, really hot, and that's how we kosher it. That is part of it. Yes. Yes. In addition, the oven should be put on to maximum. Yes. Okay. After that, okay. Now that is the oven itself. What about the pans and grates? So pans and grates generally cannot be koshered. Why? Because again, now even more than the oven itself, because the oven itself, as I said, that there is that kula that even if it doesn't reach the heat of libun, okay. But that is because the oven itself doesn't actually touch the food. The food splashes onto it and then it might splash back. There is steam in the oven, okay. But it doesn't actually touch the food. But the pans that the food actually touches, if we had a pan that actually had chametz in it, that was in the oven, now to kosher it, we have to do proper libun. Our pans cannot actually survive libun. If you'll put them into proper fire, they won't survive. Except there are some most cleaning ovens will tell you to not leave the pans in when you do the self-cleaning because it will ruin them and then you cannot kosher them. But there are some, the grates and the pans. Yes. So those cannot be koshered, and so basically either store them, or if you want to take the risk and you have a self-cleaning oven, put it inside when you do the self-cleaning, and when it's in, see if it survived, then it's fine. You could use it for Pesach. Yes.
You talked about in the oven, the racks. Those are the things that are like
yes.
The things that are already big.
Both.
It's only got to position color, that's all.
Okay. So yes, I'm talking about the racks and the pans, but an important thing that is told here. Can I use your name on yeah? Okay. Emma is saying that you could definitely leave the racks in when you do the self-cleaning. If you have a self-cleaning oven, she's not taking responsibility, but she says they say not to do it because they change colors, but that's okay. It could still be put in and used, and that's fine. That is libun. Putting it in the oven. If you have a self-cleaning oven that reaches more than 370 degrees Celsius, 700 Fahrenheit, you leave it in, and that's libun. Yes. I thought I repeated it.
You did.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So in a not self-cleaning option, you can cover the rack.
Very good. So I'm getting to it. Very good. Now, in a not self-cleaning oven, what do you do with the racks? So you cover it with thick foil, and then you could use it. Yes. You could if you want to, but no, from my experience, you don't need to. It's because you still have the air from both sides of the rack and from the sides. You don't really have, you could if you want to, but you don't have to bother doing it. Because anyhow, think about it. You have the rack. Okay, Emma said you might need to do holes in the cover to allow the airflow. But think about it. You have the rack. You put the pan on the rack. Anyhow, the air doesn't go through the pan. So it's not. And from the sides, the air could still go. So it's not the end of the world. Right. The problem is with the racks, they do libun kal. Yes, so Ilan said that you could do libun kal to the racks. That's true, but to Ashkenazim, it's not really enough. To Ashkenazim, doing libun kal to the racks won't. To Sfardim, it's okay, For Ashkenazim, it's not. You could do it, but then also still cover it. No, because Emma asked if we could be Ashkenazim, Sephardim just for Pesach. No, if you're Ashkenazim for Pesach, you have to be also for Slicha. Okay, and everything else. Okay. Okay, so that we covered the oven. Dishwashers, we clean them well. Make sure that also especially the drain at the bottom, clean very well, and then turn it and also the door, especially at the rubber at the edges. Make sure you clean it well with a toothbrush or something with strong detergent, and then just turn it on the highest, and that koshers that with soap in it. Yes, turn it on the highest with soap in it, and that koshers it because it basically cleans it well. Some are stringent that the racks, they do proper hagalatu, so they take to the main hagalah and they do it. It's not necessary to do so, but there is such a stringency. Yes, yes. Yeah. I know. I also. Okay, so I used to think you cannot use dishwashers because, according to it's difficult how the actual how you reach saying it's okay, but it's okay. You clean it well, wash it well, and then yes. Is it possible to change the lid of the dishwasher from milk to? When you do it on Pesach, when you do it for Pesach, you could change it. Yes. Okay. So I was asked here, can you change dishwasher from milk to meat? So usually we don't change things from one to another, but on Pesach, when we kasher, we could change it, but we have to stick to that change, meaning we can't change it for Pesach and then change it back again. So yes. See, I knew the question before. Yes, no, it's an obvious. Yes, it's a sensible question. Okay. Yes. Yes. You should wait 24 hours and then kosher. Yes. Right. With most things, it doesn't. With dishwashers and microwaves, it does. Okay, now the truth is that, as Daniel said, if you put soap in it, it matters less, but it still matters. The reason why it matters is because it's not a full hagalah that we're talking about here. It's somewhat different, and therefore it does matter. Yes. I'm getting to a microwave, yes. Okay. All shelves of the fridges and cabinets, etc., just clean well. It used to be that we were told to cover those things. We don't really need to, because think about it. Once upon a time, shelves used to be wooden, and therefore the surfaces are not as smooth, and therefore you have crumbs and things, and therefore it would make sense to cover it. Today, everything is, we have smooth surfaces. Anything that is not used for hot, but only for cold, so that will be, those will be our cabinets, our fridge, etc. Needs to be properly cleaned, but doesn't need to be covered. Okay. The table should be covered. Why? Because sometimes hot things spill on it, etc. So it's good to cover it, to have a plastic cover beneath our tablecloth throughout the Pesach, just in case. Okay, an important thing, books. Sometimes we look through books and we put them on the table. So books that we put on the table throughout the year, might contain chametz because crumbs might got into them when we put them on the table. So we shouldn't really put them on the table during Pesach. We should be careful not to do that. Microwave. Clean very well, wait 24 hours, and then do the following. Take a cup. Now, it's best to do it. Actually, today I experimented to see what would be the best way, and these are the results. Take a disposable hot cup, paper cup, fill it with water, put it in the microwave, put it on between 10 and 12 minutes. You'll see the whole thing will steam up. Open it, and while it's still hot, wipe. Yeah, like a paper cup. Yeah, so a glass, when you'll try to take it out, will be so hot after 10, sorry? Yeah, but even because it was there for so long, even the handle could get hot. I once did it and I burnt myself. Sorry? Maybe, I didn't try a foam cup. No, not a plastic cup, a paper, the paper disposable cups. Sorry? No, because while it's still hot, so I'll explain how it works. What's the problem with the microwave? Well, microwave works very interestingly. The food gets hot, but the actual microwave doesn't get hot. So there were those that wanted to say you don't even have to kosher the microwave because the walls of the microwave are actually cold. But that's not true, because when you leave something there for long, there's condensation and it reaches the walls and it does make it hot. But how hot, we don't know. So things do splash. When you look at the microwave, it's not clean. So things do splash. So things splash and they're hot. So we do need to do some sort of koshering, but it's not proper hagalah. We cannot do really hagalah. But what we say is there is a principle of kebol okach polto, meaning the heat that it's stuck to with it is probably the heat that will take it off. So when we put it in and we make the whole microwave full of hot steam, then that hot steam touches the walls, and whatever filth that is there, it loses its grip, and we could then easily wipe it off. So we first clean it. Don't do that to be your cleaning. Clean it and then do that, and whatever residue will still be there, that will come off with that. I tried it today and it actually works quite nicely. After you do that, the plate itself do cover with saran wrap, because the plate itself is glass. And again, we're taking into account the Ashkenazim that hold that glass cannot be kasher. The Sephardim could actually pour hot water onto the glass, and that's fine. Ah, very good. So Ashkenazi glass that is used for cold beverages, like glasses, those Ashkenazim do that thing. Today, most people don't do it. I won't bother even saying it. Emma spoke about the putting the glasses in the there is soaking them 3 days in water. There is such a thing for cold glasses that Ashkenazim did. I don't know. Do people still do it today? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I did last year.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Okay. Some people, it's important to know, some people, the way to kasher a microwave, because of what I said before, is not so obvious. Some people say because after all, it does get hot and we're not sure how much it gets hot and we're not sure, so it's not really kashering, so they don't hold by kashering a microwave and they won't kasher a microwave for Pesach. What can you do then? The truth is that even then, if you cover the food properly, even if you hold that you cannot kasher, then if it's covered properly, like you do in the plane, right? You wrap it twice. So you wrap whatever you put in saran wrap or whatever, you put it in like that, then it will be okay, even according to them. Okay, a food processor. Clean it well, and the pieces, most people that I know get extra like plastic pieces, etc. for Pesach. That's the best. If someone doesn't have, they could be cleaned and kashered, meaning put into the hagala. However, parts that are used often to make, if you make dough in it, then it cannot be kashered, at least according to Ashkenazim. So if you use your food processor to do dough, then the pieces you definitely need to change for Pesach. The actual motor itself you clean very well. Make sure, because the parts where what is it called? Those holes where the motor takes air out. Many times there is a lot of crumbs get into. Sorry. Yes. So crumbs get into that. So just make sure to clean it well and use detergent to make it clean well. A coffee machine. Clean it well and make it run without coffee. The best is if you make it run once or twice, it's good. But the best is if you make it run until the water come out clear, that's even better. The truth is that there is no kafeh that is chametz. Some of the kafeh, some of the capsules that have paste in them, they might contain kitniot. But I heard this from an expert that says none of them contain chametz. But just in case, kasher it that way, and then it's for sure good.
They're not an espresso, the posher coffee machine, which actually use beans, and then it grinds the beans.
No problem. Yes. So the truth is, you don't even have to kasher them. But just if you want to feel good about yourself, it was used in a chametz environment. Maybe somehow crumbs got into it, then you could, but you don't have to. Okay. Decaf coffee, I heard all sort of things about. You're talking about decaf coffee for a machine. You asked me that. Right. So, yes. So you asked me that last year. Yes. And so maybe it was 2 years ago. And I didn't know the answer. I found it out and I answered you. I'll check in WhatsApp. I don't remember the answer. But I'll. Yes. Coffee, 100% coffee. You could buy anywhere. It's fine. It doesn't contain. You don't have to worry that it contains chametz. So I'm about to get to the milk dispenser. So the milk dispenser is a problem. Why is it a problem? Especially people in Ra'anana who don't only use regular milk, but other types of milk. If you use oat milk, then oatmeal is 100% chametz. So the milk is chametz, and then the milk dispenser is absolutely chametz, and it needs to be properly kashered. So now there are different types of dispensers. The one that you have the tube that comes out of the machine, that you take the cup and put it in the tube like that, and then the steam comes out of the tube into the cup. So how do you kasher that? You clean it very, very well. Then you take a cup with hot boiling water, cover the tube with it, and turn it on. And then like that, you kasher it. Like that, you kasher it. No, the tube is metal. Yes. What are you talking about? Yes, so I'm going to get to that. Okay, that is more problematic to kasher. If you don't use oatmeal milk, then that's less of a problem because it doesn't contain chametz, but it should still be koshered. And what you do, you basically fill it with water as you will. You first clean it properly, then you fill it up with water as you will milk with some soap, and very little soap because the thropping it really gets wild. So, but you put a tiny bit, and it's fine. And then you clean it, and that's okay. If you use oat milk in there, then it cannot really be kosher. Those type of croppers.
There's a plastic container for the milk, and there's a plastic piece that goes down into the milk that sucks it up, and then there's.
But you can't. Can you take it apart?
That's how my machine was. It's like 3 parts the milk thing. There's a thing that snaps into the machine. There's a plastic tube that sucks up the milk, and there's a container that holds.
Oh, that's how it works. So that's different. So. Okay, I know 2 types. I know one type where you have that metal thing coming up, where you come with the cup and put it to that, and then you have a dropper, which is basically a separate thing that is on the side of the machine where you pour the milk into that, and there is something that goes around there like a little magnet with a metal thing or something that goes around, and it basically whips up the milk in there. That's the one that I was talking about now. What you're talking about, I'm not familiar with, so I'll have to actually look at it. Okay, okay. So that's the coffee machine. A kettle or an urn, strictly speaking, doesn't require any koshering because it's used only for water. However, it's in a chametz environment, so who knows, etc. So just in case, you fill the kettle to the maximum, pour it out after cleaning it, pouring it out, and it's clean for Pesach. The same with the urn. The urn has the faucet as well, so you pour on it water from a hot boiling kettle, and it's kosher.
On the outside, you have to pour water?
Yes, on the outside as well. Why? Because sometimes you might have put something underneath that can, or because you have the steam that goes up from the cup, and if there were crumbs on it or anything like that with the steams. No, it doesn't melt. Yeah, no, it doesn't melt. It's fine. Yeah. And obviously the top of the urn, if you put chalot on the top, then it's a problem. If you don't, then again you could kosher that. I remember you asked me about putting it in hot water, and did you put it in hot water? Yeah, nothing happened to it, right? So the top of the urn you basically do hagalah to. Yes, where you pour out and the top of the urn. And the urn, it's the lid of the urn. Because maybe it's really a stringency, but maybe it's a chametz environment, so maybe some crumbs went there or something like that, and it gets very hot. No, you basically fill it to the. Okay, again, you fill the urn to the very top, bring it to a boil, open the tap, allow everything to go out and spill out the rest. And on the faucet from the outside, you pour hot water from a kettle. The lid you put in a pot for hagalah. If you think that chametz got to it. If not, just clean it well, and it's fine. Okay. Okay, we're running out of time. A barbecue. Sorry, what? Oh, okay, yes. So a barbecue, basically clean very well and turn on to the highest. If you have, what happened? Does anyone know where to? Yeah, oh, thank you.
Oh, we've got a post.
Yes.
Which sends out boiling steam between the countertops. What a brilliant idea.
No, so it doesn't work.
Oh.
There is.
That's a brilliant idea. It doesn't work.
Yes. So the question was whether a steamer can kosher a countertop. So there is a question whether steam is good enough for hagala, and the answer is no, for technical reasons that we do not have time to get into right now. But yes, that you see, that's part of a problem with the microwave, because the microwave, it's the steam, it's not really so. But that is a whole thing.
Sorry, that we get back to ovens. There's steam ovens. But can one kasher the steam ovens?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with steam ovens. That sounds fascinating. I'll have to look into it. Okay, my barbecue. So most gas barbecue reach a heat that is beyond 370 degrees. So basically, we clean it well, close the lid, turn it on the highest, and it's kosher, including the grid. If it doesn't reach 370 degrees, then you take the grid to the place where they do libun, and they do libun to the grid. That's good enough. Okay, as I said, clay cannot be koshered. Ceramic, porcelain, and glass, Ashkenazim are stringent with and hold that cannot be koshered. There are some. If someone really has a problem, come to me and we'll think what to do with on specific cases. But generally, that is the rule. Okay, just that you know, there is going to be 2 centers for Hagalat Kelim in town. I don't know if you got the thing already. It's going to be on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, not this coming Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the following Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's going to be, there are 2 places. You'll see it in when the message will come out. Okay, a plata is really difficult to kosher. I think it cannot really be koshered because the food that splashes, that spills on it really sticks to it. So if you can't really take it off, and you can't really do libun to a plata, it won't survive libun. So I think it cannot be koshered. If someone has no choice, so and a plata is not so expensive to buy a special plata for Pesach. If someone really has no choice, then cover it with foil, and that will be fine. Okay, shopping. So start with medication. This will be short. Medication. If medicine doesn't taste good, if it doesn't have taste to it, it's bitter, it doesn't need to be kosher for Pesach. You're taking it for health reasons, it's not considered food, and therefore when you're eating it, it's not considered you're eating chametz, because the medicine part, even if it has chametz starch in it, it's not considered eating chametz. So you don't have to look for a hechsher if it's bitter. If it has taste, so even though you're taking it for medication, the taste also makes it slightly foodish, and therefore it has to be kosher. So you want to look on the list and see that the medication you're taking, if it has taste, is kosher for Pesach. If your medicine is not on the list, then ask your doctor if there is a replacement or anything like that. I'm not an expert, so if you'll ask me about medication, I won't be able to answer you. but I'll be maybe able to tell you who to ask. But the best first to go person will be the doctor to ask if there are alternatives that might be on the list. Vitamins have to be kosher for Pesach. Yes. Okay. Kitniot. So Ashkenazim do not eat kitniot. Okay, let's move on. Yeah. No. Okay.
What do you get if you kidney on Pesach that was in a yogurt and you really?
What do you call this in English? A nunu. Yes, you get it. Yeah, but a strong. Yeah. No. No. Didn't say it's all right. Yeah. We stick to our minhagim. We're very proud about our minhagim.
I see it from rice, and I see it from beans, I see it from marijuana, unfortunately. So I see it, the big kidneys.
Yeah.
Sesame and stuff like that. But I don't understand it for oil less than that.
So for that, I'm going to have a shiur on Shabbat between Mincha and Maariv in Hebrew, but you're okay with Hebrew. And it will be on that, on kitniot. So I'm going to elaborate on the where it came from and what it is. Come to the shiur. I'm not telling you yet what it's about. Okay. Oh, so that I'm getting to. There are canola, which liftit is canola. There are opinions that say it's not kitniot. I personally hold by those opinions. So yes, so if something says kitniot and you read through it and you see that the only thing that might be kitniot is canola, then sometimes it says leochlei liftit. But yes, sometimes it used to be that way, but today they just write kitniot on everything. So it became right.
Intelligent thought. Like I've seen almonds and it says contents 100% almonds.
So then it's not kitniot. Right.
You are allowed, you don't have to.
Yes, if the ingredients do not contain kitniot, then even if it says kitniot, you could have it. Yes. So
why did you do that? Because
okay, there are different minhagim regarding kitniot also. So let's say peanuts, for instance. Some eat peanuts. Some hold that they're kitniot. So the important thing is that we stick to our minhagim, not to the general minhag. So if our minhag is to eat peanuts, in South Africa they eat peanuts, right? In America, some eat peanuts. Some. Some. So it depends. So I think what is important is to stick to your minhag. If in your the idea is, no, because then we'll adopt not having kitniot altogether. I think the nice thing about kitniot is that we stick to our minhagim. Whatever our minhag is, we stick to it. We do Pesach like our parents did, our grandparents. That's how we do it. Okay, and in my shiur, I'll elaborate about that. It's a long idea, but okay. Another thing is quinoa and chia seeds and those things. Well, no, those things, those two items. Some say they are kitniot, some hold they're not kitniot. So here too, go according to there are no minhagim because these are new things. So, but some already have, some come from communities where they ate kitniot, some come from not. I personally think they are kitniot, by the way, but you don't have to do what I say.
No, it's fine. I think they might have changed it then because it got pressures.
As far as I know, they still say it's okay. As far as I know. I know, but kitniot are not a botanical thing. No, that literally kitniot are translated legumes. That is true. But the rule of kitniot is called kitniot, but it doesn't refer specifically to kitniot. It refers to all kinds of seeds. So there are reasons to it, but we don't have time right now. Basically, peanuts are a root. They're not the seed. Quinoa is somewhat. No, with peanuts it's not the reason. With other things, it is the reason. Some say it about corn, but we won't get in there because we won't end. Okay. Animal food doesn't have to have a hashgacha for Pesach, but make sure it doesn't contain chametz. It could contain kitniot. See, even if you're Ashkenazi, your dog doesn't have to be Ashkenazi. Doesn't have to suffer. Okay. On to bdikat chametz. The night of before Pesach, we do bdikat chametz. How do we do bdikat chametz? We check all the home. Now, it used to be that bdikat chametz, when people lived in a one-room home, then basically bdikat chametz was the cleaning of the house for Pesach. At night, they came, they cleaned, they made sure there is no chametz anywhere, and everything was fine. Now, going through our whole home, properly looking drawer by drawer, under the beds, closet by closet, will take us the whole night. So therefore, we could count on the fact that we know that we cleaned the house. So basically, whoever is doing bdikat chametz, just make sure you get to a drawer. You ask, okay, was this drawer cleaned? Who cleaned it? You cleaned it, fine. You don't have to open each and every drawer. Make sure. Now, from if you suspect some areas where something was forgotten or something like that, you look into it. You make sure. Basically, you go through the house, making sure you didn't forget to clean anything or didn't leave any areas that you didn't go over. That is basically bdikat chametz. From the time you make the bracha until the end of the bdika, one should not talk and in matters not pertaining to the bdikat chametz, and should concentrate on that bdikat chametz. Once one finished, that's that. Now, do not forget your office or place of work. One is responsible to that also there won't be chametz. You don't have to drive there on Yudaled Nisan, but on your last day of work before Pesach, just make sure there is no chametz, that you didn't leave something somewhere, that you know there is not chametz there. And at night, when you say the bracha, have in mind also what you did there, that there is no chametz there. And when you do the bitul, also, I'll get to the bitul in a minute. Make sure there is no bitul there. The car also should be, one should go over the car and make sure there is no chametz in the car as well. After bdikat chametz, one does bitul chametz, and that is in the Haggadah. There is a nusach that you do where you nullify the chametz that you didn't see at home. If one leaves the house before the night before Pesach, then the last night you are at home, that is when you do bdikat chametz. But in that case, you do it without a bracha, but you do it exactly the same way as you would on the 14th of Nisan. If one is staying in a hotel, if one got to the hotel before the 14th of Nisan, one should do bdikat chametz with a bracha in the hotel room to make sure there is no chametz. One place where many times there will be chametz, especially if it's not a Jewish hotel, the minibar. Make sure the whiskeys are not there. Okay, so that's that.
What if you come to the hotel?
If you come on Pesach, so then also you do bdikat chametz. if it's not a Jewish hotel and you know the Bdikat Chametz was not done. And I saw Rav Melamed, not Rav Zalman Melamed, the father of Rav Eliezer Melamed, wrote to do it even with a bracha on Pesach, if it's after the Yudalit. I didn't see anyone else. So then you could assume it's okay. You don't have to do Bdika on Pesach. Okay. In the morning, make sure to burn the chametz that you found or chametz that is left over. There are a few places in town where they burn the chametz. Make sure to burn it before Zman HaBiur. Another thing to make sure is that there is no chametz in your bin. If the bin was not taken before Sof Zman Biur and there is good chametz in there, that might be a problem. Even though it's hefker, it's not yours, it's still there, that might be a problem. So what I suggest, chametz that you throw out right before Pesach, make it not unedible before, pour some soap on it or something like that, that if in case it stays there before Zman HaBiur, after the time you shouldn't have chametz, it's not edible already. Yeah.
Common areas, like if you live in an apartment, who's responsible for the hallways, the stairway? Who does the chametz?
Everyone who lives in the, okay. So I was asked about common areas in an apartment house. So yes, everyone living there is responsible to make that there is no chametz. So basically, it's not a big deal. Just make sure that there isn't. You go through the cheder madrigot and make sure that there is no visible chametz or anything like that. Okay, selling the chametz. So beginning next Thursday between Mincha and Ma'ariv, I'll have the tfasim of the Rabbanut, and you could come to me and do it traditionally with a kinyan and everything. Alternatively, you could do it online. The Rabbanut Ra'anana does it online. So I'll do it online. Chabad do it online. You could find whatever organization you want to, do it through them online, and halachically that's fine. That's fine as well. Yes. So the Shulchan Aruch says to do it with a kinyan. When you are memaneh shaliach, you do it with a kinyan. Halachically, it's not required, but that is the minhag. And I know they say about Rav Soloveitchik that he was makpid on it because he was very makpid to do everything as it is written in the Shulchan Aruch according to the minhagim. But strictly speaking, it's okay even without. Okay. A few things about Leila Seder, and now I'll be very quick. Kazait matzah lechatchila. Okay. The mitzvot of Leila Seder. On Leila Seder, we have a few mitzvot. The main mitzvot are, first of all, eating Pesach, matzah, maror. Pesach, unfortunately, we don't have the Paschal lamb, but we do have matzah, we do have maror. The matzah is a Torah mitzvah. The maror, because we don't have the Pesach, then the maror is the Rabbanan. It's only rabbinic. That's why with the matzah, we are more strict than with the maror, as I'm about to explain. Because the matzah is actually the only mitzvah we have today, which is from the Torah. We have a mitzvah to eat something from the Torah. During the time of the temple, there were many things involving with the korbanot where we were supposed to eat certain things. But now the only remaining mitzvah is the eating of this matzah. So it's a very special mitzvah. And we want to make sure we do it correctly. So the amount to eat is a zait, is the size of an olive. However, what is the size of an olive? So there is a whole discussion and a minhag. Now this is not, today we know it's not necessary, it's most likely not true. However, because of a series of misunderstandings and mistakes, a minhag developed, and since it's a minhag, it remained. And that is this, how much we eat from the matzah. So the general opinion is that about a third of a machine matzah is a kazait, a third. However, third, we eat 2/3. Why? For two reasons. A, according to the Shita ben Yehuda, which we're not going to get into right now, a kazait is actually 2/3, not 1/3. That's one reason. Another reason, which is an important one, is Einosin mitzvot chavilot. We just made a bracha, and now we have two mitzvot, one to eat, because we made a bracha to eat, and another mitzvah to eat matzah. So these are two separate mitzvot, so we should actually eat two kazaitim. So because one for each mitzvah. So the minhag is to eat 2/3 of a matzah. Now, from experience, it's not too difficult for most people. However, if it is difficult, then at least 1/3 of a matzah, that is the amount of a kazait that we hold by. So a third or 2/3 for the first piece of matzah, then another third of matzah for the korech, and then at the very end, another third for the, or 2/3 if you want to be stringent, for the afikoman. Now it's very important to know, after eating the afikoman, we shouldn't eat anything else. We could drink water, but not eat anything else. That has to be the last thing we eat. Ein maftirin achar Pesach afikoman. That is the general rule. If someone finds it difficult to eat so much matzah, then the minimum amount is the size of an actual olive, but the matzah is thin, so it's not actually the size. It's not like that, because the size of an olive would be less than an olive because it doesn't have the width of an olive. So about the size of a credit card or something like that, that will be the amount. Now, until we finish eating the amount we shouldn't talk, or we shouldn't do anything. We don't have to eat it very fast. Some people think they have to eat it very fast because it all has to be at once. No, you could take your time, but not talk, concentrate on the eating of the matzah, and that way we fulfill the mitzvah properly. The 4 cups have to be of the right amount, but that's easy because the amount is 75 milliliters according to most opinions, which is, no, actually 86 according to most opinions, but actually the real amount is probably 75 milliliters, which is quite small. According to the Chazon Ish, it's 150 milliliters. So it's bigger than that, but even that is smaller than an average cup. Now, to begin with, the best thing is that for each cup, the mitzvah is to drink arba kosot, that one drinks the cup that they have. So it's better to use smaller cups that one could drink the whole cup. Yeah, so that's what I said. So 75, that's the 75 is probably okay. If you want to be a bit more stringent, then 86 milliliters. And if you want to be Chazon Ish, then 150. But even 150, it's not a big cup. It's smaller than our average cups are 250 or 300 milliliters. I don't know how ounces work. Okay, so that will be like Chazon Ish, more or less. Okay, so it could be less, but if you want to be like Mehadel, then you go for that. The best is that one drinks the whole cup, but it's not always easy, and it's not always. If someone wants to do it with wine, that's fine. If wine is not always, I can't do all 4 kosot with wine. So at least the first ones I do with grape juice. Grape juice is absolutely fine, and the best thing is to drink the entire cup. If one does not want to drink the entire cup, then one should drink rov kos, the majority of the cup. If even that is too much, then at least melol ugmav. Melol ugmav means a mouthful, more or less, or half a mouth. cheek actually, but which is the majority of the eat. It would be the majority of a cup, but it will, so meaning more than just a sip, that is to fulfill the mitzvah of bakosot. So those are the few things I have to say tonight. Yes. So it's very important, and it is better to have a smaller cup and to drink it either all or the majority of it than have a bigger cup, drink and not drink the majority of it. Okay, any other questions? I have here, let's see if someone wrote here. I'll open the mute now. Just a minute. How do I do that? No, just a minute. I'm trying to see how I can do. Okay, yes. You can now, okay, good night. Someone question themselves.
Something like this, which is just used for coffee and sits on its own ring on the stove?
Sorry.
This is a mocha pot. It's just for coffee. It sits on its own ring on the stove. It's never had anything in it but coffee. Is that okay?
Easy. You can this. You clean into that. You do anything else.
You're fading in and out. I can't understand you.
Doesn't it? Can you hear me?
Take this back. Michael,
Can you hear me? No, you hear me?
yes.
Ruth, can you hear?
The sound went all weird. Maybe you can write me the answer later.
Okay, just a minute. I'll hear something. I'll you, but I'll say it now just in case. That you clean it well, and that's that. You don't need to kasher it. If you want to, you could do hagala to it, but it's not necessary.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, thank you very much. Good night. Mm-hmm.